Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Welcome back to another episode of the Peak Performers Podcast / show. Today we are going to have some questions and answers. You've asked the questions and we are going to answer them for you. I've got Dylan here in the studio, or actually up on the roof. Hello, Dylan.
Hey, how's it going?
Excellent, man. What do we got? Who wrote in?
Okay, so we have Mason from South Lake, Texas. And what Mason wants to know is, Thor, I always hear you say that there's a difference between running a business and running a practice. What exactly does that mean? And I've also heard you talk about lifestyle businesses. Can you expand on that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Mason, is it?
Mason, yep.
Mason. All right, terrific. Yeah, I get this question asked an awful lot, as you know, Dylan. And what's really interesting is this question just doesn't come from, you would think, sole practitioners or solopreneurs. It actually comes from a lot of business owners. And what we always say, too, is that most people think they own a business when really the business just simply owns them. And the answer to this question really comes down to the lack of someone else to hand stuff off to. And Dylan, you know this all too well, right? I mean, we've done this in our firm. If you're not familiar, you haven't been listening recently, Dylan is now in charge of making sure that the entire team, in-house and out, is executing. So his job as operations manager is to make sure the stuff gets done. But I don't want Dylan doing it. I want him making sure that it's done throughout the network. Now, my job is to take a whole bunch of things that were on my list and give them to Dylan. So to answer your question, Mason, is the difference is what you'll find is a practice is somewhere where an organization or a person or a solopreneur is doing everything themselves. They've got no one to hand the stuff off to. And it becomes a point where you just reach a plateau where you just can't do anything more. Look, we've got doctors, we've got dentists, we have financial experts, financial executives that are clients of ours. I hear the noise.
I know. It's the second you start recording, every noise in Atlanta decides it's going to.
All right, so hopefully we're not on fire, but we'll just keep going until the flames reach the 11th or 20th floor. It's all about taking and getting it to somebody else. And even for the solopreneurs, you know, if you're a doctor, if you're an accountant, if you're a lawyer, you're going to reach the point where you just can't do anything else because everything falls on you. So the real difference is in a business or a practitioner or a practice is, do you have somebody else to give it off to? Now, lifestyle was kind of your third question. That really, quite frankly, is where everyone ought to be aiming. And we're like, well, wait a second, what do you mean ought to be aiming to a lifestyle business? Yes, a lifestyle business is when you don't have to show up. It just moves and it works without you. Okay? That's really where most of our clients are headed. That's what they want. They want an organization that they own, but they don't have to be there every single day. And there's great news, by the way. All right? You can be a doctor, lawyer, chiropractor, and still have what considered is a practice, but turn it into a business where you don't have to be there every single day. The biggest thing, Dylan, that I see with our clients across the board is that the ones that are really killing it and those that are struggling, it comes down to their team. No matter how big the organization is, you've got to make sure that you have someone that you can pass the work down to. And that keeps going all the way down. As soon as you get to the point, you know, where you're stuck, that's where you're out of bandwidth. And it's generally the owner, it's generally the CEO that's the sticking point or the blockage in the road. What's been your experience?
Well, I think that you're probably absolutely right on. I mean, the only way that you can ever expand, and we've talked about this a lot as far as scalability goes, which I think is another thing that I think is what is the difference between a business and a practice, right? And that's kind of what you're really getting at is if you can't scale the company, you're kind of stuck at a practice because you kind of have a finite ceiling as to where you can go. But I think that once you start to build the team and have people to pass stuff along to, that frees up your schedule. And as you're kind of even alluding to there, that's really what you want to do if you ever want to have a lifestyle business where you can go on trips or go on vacation and this thing is running without you being in the middle of it. So it's actually something that I think we've touched on a little bit and kind of other podcasts as well.
You know, we were just talking about it today. We're sitting here doing some work on the website, and there's some changes that need to occur. And Dylan's first response was that, look, we've got a whole bunch of things on our plate. I'm like, well, just add another resource, add another engineer, get somebody else on the project. All you have to do is just tell them what has to get done, and someone else is going to run with it. That's when you know you're scaling the business.
Yep.
Great question, Mason.
Yep. So I guess the only thing left to leave Mason with is what can he do to make sure that he is running a business and not a practice, and how can he take the first steps to changing that into the lifestyle business that he's looking for? Yeah,
great question. First is, and I do not want to villainize a practice. If that's what you want a great practice. There's nothing wrong with that. You just know that there's going to be limitations and you won't be able to scale past a certain point. What you've got to do is you've got to take some of your profits. That's why we do profitability consulting. You need profits in order to build out a team, and you need to start building out. Start with the little stuff. Hire an assistant. Hire someone that you can give them stuff to. I don't care if it's virtual or on site. When you start getting things off your plate onto somebody else's, get that done. As you bring on more business, you got more bandwidth now. Take a piece of those profits and bring somebody else on. Or upgrade. If you've got an assistant that's virtual, now bring somebody in-house. Get to the point where you can take as much as possible off your plate and get it on somebody else's. But don't wait until you have all the money. Start. We got one client that he's got to come up with a completely new funding. It's going to cost probably $60,000, $70,000 for the new position. And we got to the point where we're about $40,000 funded in additional revenue that's come in. And I said, look, you want to wait until you get to the 70 or you want to pull the trigger now? Because if you pull the trigger now, all you're down right now is you're about $30,000 away from your goal. Bring them on now. It's only going to be about $2,400 a month. Bring them on now. And by the time you actually get them up and running, chances are you'll only be a couple $1,000s away.
Yep. I think that is great advice. So hopefully, Mason, you can take that and apply it to your business. And we wish you luck.
Absolutely. Keep the questions coming in.